Cuba and Major League Baseball have reached an agreement that by 2019, it's a business agreement, Cuban baseball players will be able to sign with Major League Baseball from the island without having to emigrate. I imagine, without having read a lot about this story, I imagine that baseball is trying to get Cuba's most precious resource, shortstops and third basemen, cheaper than they've been getting them because they come and they skate around all the draft rules because they've been coming from communism. They've been smuggled in. They've had to get citizenship in Costa Rica. I remember being with Levon and El Duque Hernandez. They're like sneaking. They're trying to sneak into the country, and the only thing that's getting them in is their talent. And then when they come over on boats or whatever with 10 people who have smuggled them out, the other 9 normal people have to go back to where they were. The person with the baseball arm that's golden gets to come over here with an agent, get supported, and reach the American dream. Is it Jose Contreras? Regardless, here's his story. He's a dominant pitcher in Cuba. He has no access to America. He thinks the American dream is let me get to my baseball goals. And so he gets to New York. He's wearing the pinstripes. He's on the mound at the center of the biggest thing in what he believes to be American sports. The dream has been reached, the American dream. Congratulations. He's at home crying, listening to his father's funeral, lighting candles because his father died back in Cuba and he was never able to get him here. So with all of that as context, Dan, I ask you, what do you make of Cuba and Major League Baseball reaching an agreement that might limit the Cuban baseball player's ability to be a total free agent the way that he is now once he risks everything to get over here? Because relationships with Cuba have been normalized, because ESPN has gone over there, because Obama has gone over there, because the embargo has toppled. You do what with all of that information?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag because, it sounds like those guys aren't going to have to go to the crazy lengths and a lot of times dangerous, lengths that they've had to go to in the past to get over here. I think that's a positive, but I think any time that you're taking anyone, but particularly somebody who may be impoverished and limiting the amount of money they can make because they don't have free agency, I don't think that's a good thing. So it's something of a mixed bag, in my opinion.
How do you feel about it?
I mean, as with many things Cuba, I'm here for the normalized relationships if they actually benefit the people of Cuba. Like, if it's not the government pocketing money, these people are traitors when they come over here. The government, this is no secret, the government punishes their families once they leave. Like, they make life very hard because you're talking about communism here. You're talking about some things haven't changed over there. Beyond them not, they're still driving the 1950 Russian Ladas. Cuba's stuck in the 1950s. And so I don't know what to do. You've heard me conflicted before about normalized relations. Billy, look, man, my pain is borrowed from Cuban exiles. My parents suffered this. I didn't have to suffer bleep. But Billy, what are your thoughts? Because you are un cubano, tremendo cubano.
Honestly, embarrassingly enough, this is the first I'm hearing of it. But I'm looking at the LA Times, which says the plan would give 25% of the minor league bonus to the Cuban Baseball Federation. So, I mean, obviously,
I know, but is that going to go to baseball or is it going to go to the government? It's what the people from Cuba are always worried about. The idea that if you normalize relationships, the only people who are going to get rich or better are the Castros or what's left of the Castros.
I mean, it says the Cuban Baseball Federation, but who runs that?
Yeah,
there's always skepticism when you're dealing with the Cuban government.
Always. And so that's where it feels very lonely, right? Because nobody cares about this. Nobody. Baseball will make the money off it, but the only people who care about this are Cubans who are feeling it and feeling the mix of emotions. So, Billy, how do you feel as someone who loves baseball, as someone who loves his history, as someone who is proudly Cuban, except that he'd prefer to go by Billy instead of Guillermo? What do you make of the emotions of you see normalized relations between Cuba and the United States, and now the ball player no longer has to literally throw his life to the wind sometimes to get on a raft made of tires to make it the 90 miles over here that gets you to Key West?
I mean, I'm caught in the middle in terms of relations with Cuba because my elder family, my family that came here from Cuba, has never been back and has no interest in being back. And I have family that's there that I've never met before. My fiance's family came from Cuba. She came with her mother from Cuba 10 years ago, 18 years ago. In 2000, she came alone with her mom. They came on a boat, and her family's still there. Her father's still there. Her grandparents are still there. They're going to die there. They're not going to come to the wedding that I'm having with her. So it pains me that, I'm caught in the middle because the older generation doesn't want to go back because they had
I'm
everything.
in the same place. I'm in the same place.
Everything was taken from them. And newer generations grew up without having it taken from them. And it's hard for people that haven't experienced this to understand
It's lonely.
what it's like to lose everything. And you think, well, there's a guilt that people say, like, well, the reason Cuba's in the mess that they're in is because, of the sanctions that we put on them. And I'm sorry, but that's not the case. Like, we're not the government that's oppressing those people. And you can send stuff to Cuba and you can do all that, and it's not getting to the people.
No, they take all that
There's
stuff.
been
They'll take your
normalized
cash. They'll take
relations.
your medicine. I got an uncle over there who, my mom, she suffers it so much having to go to the damn Walgreens and send them medicine and money because they can't get it themselves, because the normalized relationships are not helping the tiny people yet, as far as anyone can tell.
When you go, if you have someone that's going there, they die of diseases that can easily be fixed here, and people take medical supplies if they know family members are having operations there. I know of a story where there was just a blood transfusion. They didn't have the blood in the hospital. They had to drive to another hospital to get the blood. Like, the
it's
people
terrible.
are not benefiting from this as of yet. So, I mean, good for Major League Baseball. They're going to get Cuban
No, that's how
baseball
it feels every
players.
time with the Cuba stuff. Every time I read about it, that's how it feels.
I was going to make fun of you for not answering, and then you started crying.
I appreciate your vulnerability, Guillermo. Don't let him make fun of you about that, but I have to now because we need a joke to end the segment.